Everything you have worked on, all the things you love, come crumbling down. You feel stressed, hurt, abandoned, or depressed. Your dog has died. You got fired. You broke up. Your house got swept away by a natural disaster. Your friends all hate you. Your loved one was diagnosed with a terrible disease. All these things can happen to anyone in a human life. Life can be pretty harsh, and it's only a natural part of life to learn how to deal with these situations. Today I want to talk to you about what you should do if everything turns against you, at least that's how it feels at the moment. The reason why I want to talk about this is because I had some events in my life as well where something happened and I felt really down and stuck in that emotion. I couldn't really get out of that. And I also know some people in my life that are very close to me that have had similar experiences where they just get into a negative mood, and even rationally they might know that it's not necessary to stay in that mood. They cannot break out of that, it seems, and they don't really know what to do. And as you guys know, this channel is made by me, for me, basically, to map out all the things that I should learn, should focus on. It's a bit of a diary, if you want, of the things that I'm trying to discover in my life. And one of them is how to deal with these kind of situations where you're really, really down and feeling stuck. And yeah, I hope that in the future, when I'm going back to these moments, that I can watch this video and learn from myself, or maybe that it's more on the surface of my mind, that I already know what I need to do. And I really hope that this might also help some of you guys. So I want to explain the principle of human adventure and how to use the knowledge of the 4 basic human desires and human needs to help you get out of this mindset. The very first thing you need to do is try to break free from this downward spiral. So you're in a negative mindset, you cannot get out of that. And in order to improve things, you really need to start with doing something that helps you break open the possibilities in your mind. So for me, what really helps is to do something that completely absorbs my mind. I try to do a very heavy workout because I feel that when my body is super tired, my mind just gets quiet by itself. So the overthinking just stops because I'm just exhausted. And to be honest, we will touch upon it a bit later, but doing something that you know is actually good for your body in the long term, or good for you in the long term in any case, already makes you feel better. So you already feel kind of accomplished, that you achieved something positive for yourself. So for me, trying to do a workout, but it could also be some kind of meditation or calling a friend, something that just breaks you momentarily away from that mindset. Next, you really need to make sure that the rest of your physical state is not corrupted by any other feelings. So I've also had, very frequently, I had the experience that I thought I was unhappy and annoyed, and later it turned out I was just hungry. So nothing really happened, nothing was wrong, but I felt agitated and annoyed, and later I realized, oh, I just hadn't eaten that much, or I had too much coffee and I didn't have enough carbs to go with that. At least I realized that if I don't have carbs, I only have protein and fat, and I have coffee, it just hits me really, really hard. At the same time, if you have too many sugars, that also will cause a crash in your mood and in your energy level. So try to make sure that you don't eat too many sugars, don't drink too much coffee, and eat like a healthy, nutritious, and I would say balanced meal. So I would say don't have no carbs at all, as some people might suggest. For me, that doesn't work, at least. It's always good to have some carbs to soak everything up, but maybe not a lot of sugars. So think about that, what you know from your own experience, from your own body, what would help you in that situation. If you're very tired, make sure you get some rest. So the worst decisions are always made when the mind is tired. I've realized that also many, many times. And also a lot of things can be exaggerated and seem really, really hopeless when you're tired. So if you can, and you feel like you're tired, get some sleep. If you cannot sleep, try to do some meditation, or something that Andrew Huberman brought up in his podcast is NSDR, so non-sleep deep rest. If you Google that, NSDR, you will find a lot of guided meditation kind of sessions that help you to get the same quality rest that you would get during sleep, but without actually having to sleep. So that's a really good thing to realize. That's out there. Google it, check it out on YouTube. If stress is really getting to you, so you feel like you're highly stressed, try to do something. And I'm not saying do that in a routine, although you can as well. But at this very moment, if you're feeling stressed, try to do things that actively regulate your stress level. So you can drink chamomile tea, you can take a hot bath, you can try to get a massage. And there are also a lot of breathing techniques that you can do that really instantly help. Again, there are some nice protocols from Andrew Huberman. I'm not trying to sponsor him or anything, but he just has a lot of good content related to this. For me, also some breathing techniques really help. So there's one very famous one. If you look for 4-7-8 breathing technique, that's where you find it, but it's very simple. It's just you breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold for 7 seconds, and you breathe out for 8 seconds. To be honest, I read some other articles about it, and it seems that the most important thing is that you breathe out longer than you breathe in, and that slows down your heart rate. Because there's something in, if you breathe out, that your diaphragm is pressing on something in your heart, and that just modulates the amount of blood flow. So you just want to breathe out for longer than you breathe in, and that in general should already help you. And what I also really love to do is the guided breathing from Wim Hof. Again, if you just put that on YouTube, you will find some super nice videos by him directly that just guides you through. It's basically kind of mini hyperventilation where you get a lot of oxygen into your blood and get all the CO2 out. And then there's a lot of breath holding, and that just really, really calms me down. So I would suggest that if you feel like there's still stress in your body and it's not something that can be worked away with a massage, chamomile tea, or a workout, give it a try. It doesn't take that long. And for me, it has really good effects. So after you've tried to break free from this downward spiral in your mind, this constant overthinking and worrying, you can start to focus on the 4 basic human needs, which is basically the basics that you should already be focusing on in your everyday life anyway, if you want to live a happy and fulfilled life. I made some videos about that as well, so if you haven't checked them out, I think they will help you in any case. So there are 4 human needs or desires that, I mean, you can conceptualize it in a different way, but the way that I like to phrase it is like this. You have these 4 human desires, categories, let's say, that every human being needs to fulfill in a certain way. And not every human has the same desire in the same level for all 4 of these, but they are present in every human being as such. So they are physical, social, mental, and spiritual needs. So let's go quickly through them, and I give maybe a couple of examples of how you could do that. So the social part is pretty clear through a lot of research. Don't isolate yourself. Like, people are extroverts, some people are introverts. I'm not saying go to a party and be a very social person if you're not, but at least don't isolate yourself. Jordan Peterson also said, I couldn't find the exact video where he says it, but he said that if you want to get depressed, get sad and then isolate yourself, because that just blocks you from getting positive external feedbacks that can pull you out of that downward spiral and actually bring you into an upward spiral. So give you energy, give you positive feedback. There's also a lot of research about touching other humans that releases serotonin and I think also some dopamine. So try to do at least something somewhat social. I mean, it doesn't have to mean, like I said, go to a party. Maybe visit your parents, stay there for a while so that you're just not alone. Or if you have a partner, try to spend some time with them. If you have good friends, try to spend some time with them, for instance. So that's really the social part. Try to stay engaged in some way or form in the social arena. Next is mental. So try to figure out what actually happened. So sometimes there are certain things that happen in your life that trigger this scenario, and you cannot completely you don't want to be in this overthinking cycle, but you do want to learn the lessons that are there to be learned, let's say. So you want to structurally go into what happened, maybe write it out. Just kind of write a short story, a summary of what happened, and maybe make a list of all the things why you think this situation sucks. And then think about, what could I have done to avoid it? Sometimes it's just like literally nothing. Maybe like someone passed away in your life. There's nothing you could have done. So there's no lesson to be learned there. But then you can think about, okay, but why am I feeling like this? And is it bad that I'm feeling like this? This is also a point that I will touch upon a bit later, but sometimes it's okay to realize that there is just some amount of suffering in life that you cannot avoid. And sometimes that's all right. Like you can be unhappy at some moments. But it's very, very important to try to pinpoint where it is exactly, so you can finish off that chapter in your mind. It's not like an open thing. It's already closed. You found out what happened. You have a story for yourself, so you can close it off. The physical, of course, that's something that we talked about before. So your physical body depends on what you eat, how you sleep. Are you rested? Are you stressed? Did you exercise enough? Or are you, for instance, feeling sick? These physical parameters, let's say, they have a huge impact on how you feel. And even if you have a relatively high EQ, you can confuse some bodily feelings with emotions. Like I said, if you are very hungry, it might feel, or actually can make you restless, but it doesn't make you restless for some event that happens. It's just the fact that your body wants some food, or you had too much coffee, or you didn't sleep enough, etc. Like I said, try to check off all the boxes. Like, am I rested? Am I hungry? Am I thirsty? What else could there be physically that would make me feel a bit uncomfortable at the moment? And try to fix those if you can. And the last one, spiritual, which is probably the most vague one for most secular atheist people out there. If you're not really grounded in some kind of religious foundation, then this can be a hard one to tackle, and you might even think that this is one of these buckets that is not really present in me. I don't feel that there is something spiritual that I need to fulfill, let's say, a spiritual need. But try to think of it like this. Every human being has a kind of spiritual instinct. So that doesn't really mean necessarily that there is something, although I think there is. But that's not the point. This is basically a call to ground yourself into your personal beliefs, whatever your personal beliefs might be. For instance, if you love going out and sitting in a field or watching the sunset, go out and watch the sunset. That can already fulfill your spiritual desire. If you like praying, go pray. If you like meditating, meditate. If you like reading the Tao Te Ching, read the Tao Te Ching. Knock yourself out. Whatever you think, whatever you feel. So this is very specific, actually, that you shouldn't think too much. It's more about what does your soul, in a sense, desire. Don't use your brain too much. You already did that in the mental part. It's not about truth claims about, oh, there is something to experience. It's just about living life. If you have absolutely no idea how to approach this, there are two things that I can suggest. First one, there was a very, very interesting episode, again, of the Human Lab podcast, where Dr. Martha Beck joined, and she explains a very powerful way to instantly transform the way in which you see yourself, with a capital S, and suffering as such. And it's a very, very easy and short exercise that I really advise you to do. And I will put the link in the description with the timestamp as well. So I suggest watch the full episode, but also do that exercise because it really helps. And secondly, I suggest to read or watch lectures from Dr. Jordan Peterson. He is very famous for helping people out of these mindsets more structurally, long term. He is a psychologist, after all, and personally, I can say that his books and lectures, to be honest, have tremendously helped me in my own life to find a sense of meaning and also motivation for my life and developing myself. So I can definitely recommend that. I know some people might think he's a bit controversial. I disagree. If you read some of his stuff, it's perfectly logical, and he is on the side of the human beings, I would say. Like, so he's on our side as far as I can tell. But make up your own mind, at least read some of his stuff or watch his lectures. And if you disagree, get super angry and comment down below so that at least I get some comments. Profit. So these 4 things are essential if you want to start to feel better and if you want to continue to feel better. But I want to make one specific point, which is that you shouldn't see them as individual buckets as such, but try to see them as kind of categories that can also overlap. And the more that you can make them overlap, the more powerful the experience will be. And you don't have to feel like, oh, you're rushing to get all of them done. No, you can actually get one activity that covers all or more of them. So some examples could be, for instance, go out at night with a friend and just lay in the grass and look to the stars and talk about life, talk about existence. There you're already checking off a bunch of these. For instance, you are being social, you are checking off the spiritual part, potentially the mental part. You can talk about what happened to you. So that's already like an overlap, a kind of synergy moment, which can really help you to start feeling better. Next, let's talk about the conceptualization of our experience as humans, which is something super powerful that can really transform the way you see yourself. And that is what I like to call the human adventure. Life is an adventure. And I found that it really serves you best if you try to look at it like that. Life is, of course, more. We are also like random creatures on a rock that's flying through space, but that doesn't help you that much. So if you try to see your life as an adventure, maybe even as a movie that you're starring in, right? So in adventure, you have a hero, which is you have a goal, you have some obstacles, you have some allies, you have some enemies, you have some temptations, and these are all mapped out in your mind. So you have a map of your world, of your existence. This is also, by the way, very nicely described by Jordan Peterson in one of his earlier books, Maps of Meaning, where you can clearly see that there's always, you have a point where you are, point A, there's a point where you want to go, point B, there's a line there, that's your aim, and then there is the path, the map that gets you there. And sometimes, instead of going there, you actually crash down, failing your attempt to get to point B, and you are in chaos and you are completely broken. And there are 2 things that can happen, right? So you can either be defeated by the enemies and the temptations that you knew were there, and that can simply mean that you need to regather your strength and try again, which can be hard. But there's another situation where actually everything you thought was true turns out not to be true. So the map that you had of this world, of this path, is wrong. So you don't even know if your goal is really the goal that you wanted. If your ally is your enemy, if your ally is your ally or your enemy, and vice versa, what is an obstacle? You're completely lost. You need to rebuild your map of what you want, where's your goal, where you are right now. And that can be an even more profound, destructive feeling and place to be in. And even for that, I think it's super important that you realize which of the 2 you are in, so that you can realize what you need to do in order to get back. So do you need to regain your strength, join forces with your allies and try again? Or do you need to really reconceptualize the way that you see the world and the things that you should be aiming at? Next point I want to make is avoid quick pleasures. I mean, it can be extremely tempting, and I also want to say, in combination with the first point, if some of these quick pleasures are getting you out of this downward spiral to begin with, if it's like kind of like a punch to get you out of the flow that takes you down the river, let's say, then I think that's all right. You can have a situation where you want to do that, feel a little bit worse, but then it takes you out of the situation, because what happens is a quick pleasure is giving you pleasure now, but then in the long term, it drops you below your dopamine baseline. So that's also something that I learned recently, is that if you do some stuff that you feel good about, your dopamine goes up, it peaks, but then it drops down. So if you had a really, really amazing day, next day, you will feel empty and sad and down, even though absolutely nothing has happened. It's just because this is how your biology works. So yesterday you had a good day, well, then today you're dipping in your dopamine, you just feel a little bit worse. So try to think about that the things that you do don't give you huge dopamine spikes. So that was what I would consider quick pleasures. What you really want to try to do is do things that make you feel better gradually in the long term. So slowly build up how you feel. So that is really eating healthy, working out, reading books, learning stuff, meeting people, all these things that you actually know that maybe they don't give you the instant gratification that you want, like sitting on a couch and binging on some Ben and Jerry's, but you will feel better about it tomorrow, and you will at least not feel worse about it tomorrow. So that's really something that you need to consider if you do want to feel better. And last but not least, sometimes literally everything sucks. And believe me, I know this to be true. You might be thinking by now, come on, man, like, did you ever feel bad at all? All these things sound like, of course, rationally, you know, like, yeah, I need to do it. But I literally just want to lay on the couch and stare at the ceiling. And I don't have energy to go out and buy chamomile tea or go for a run, like whatever. I just have no energy to do anything at all. And to that, I would say yes, like 100%. This is also part of human experience. Sometimes life just sucks, and all you can do is sit on a couch and eat Ben and Jerry's, and that's perfectly fine. And in those moments, I would just say, like, just do it and don't feel bad about it. 100%. The thing is, just do it and don't feel bad about it. So you're not lagging behind. You're not losing anything. Every single human being will have this situation and will feel like that and will feel like almost immobilized. And feeling bad about feeling like that is just bringing you into this negative spiral that you really don't need. It's absolutely unnecessary, because it's just the human experience. The human experience is a roller coaster. So it's going up, but it will also go down inevitably. There's nothing you can do about that. Sometimes you just got to accept it. Maybe take a step back and observe yourself, seeing, okay, now I'm at a low. So enjoy the ride. It's going to go up eventually. And once you're ready again to break out of that, come back to this video and hopefully you can follow the first steps to break out of that cycle. But for sure, don't feel bad. It's just part of life. I hope you are doing well. I truly believe that we are not simply here to exist and have fun, although I do think that that is a huge part of it. I think that we all have a role to play in this existence, and I'm trying to figure out what that is. And I would also urge you to try to just think about that and find out what that is without any pressure, just with curiosity and some hope. Try to figure out what it is that we're doing here in this crazy world. And don't forget to have a great day.